When a Boy Falls in Love. Elder Chorus Porch Commentary. EmmaParaLeeInc presents. The evening is warm, the sweet tea is cold, and the porch fans are doing their best. The Elder Chorus has assembled with full knowledge of Kissel Taylor's situation, and they have opinions. Every last one of them. Mama E sets her glass down slow and deliberate, the way a woman does when she is choosing her words carefully but has entirely too many of them. Now, I want everybody to be fair before we start. Kissel is not a fool. I need that said out loud before Shirley gets going. That child loved hard because she was raised to love hard, and there is nothing wrong with that. What is wrong, and I mean fundamentally, structurally, architecturally wrong, is every single man she handed that love to. Rodney, Stefan, Raywan, those three alone would have broken a lesser woman entirely. Kissel is still standing. We need to acknowledge that before we commence the commentary. Mama Greer has been leaning forward since Rodney's name came up, and she is not waiting another second. I will acknowledge it for approximately 4 seconds and then we are moving on, because I have things to say about Rodney Tate that I have been holding since I first laid eyes on that boy. Rodney cheated the way some people breathe. That is what was said, and that is exactly what I have witnessed with my own 2 working eyes. You know what Rodney's problem is? Nobody ever embarrassed him properly. Not once. He has coasted his entire life on that grin and that nonsense cologne, and nobody, not one soul, has ever sat that man down and made him account for himself. And Kissel was too sweet to do it. I would have done it. I would have done it loudly, in public, on a Sunday. Auntie May is already rocking and cackling before Mama Greer finishes. Rodney and that cologne. Because I smelled that man coming from 2 houses down and I knew, that was not a trustworthy scent. That is the cologne of a man who has too many plans for a Tuesday evening. And then Stefan. Lord have mercy, Stefan thought AW2 gave him extra women. Got a little money and started doing math that does not exist. 2 + 2 does not equal 3 girlfriends, Stefan. That is not how arithmetic works, and it is not how Jesus works either. Kissel thought she leveled up, and what she actually did was trade a lying man with no job for a lying man with direct deposit. The lying stayed consistent. Mother Mary has her hands folded and her eyes briefly toward heaven. Father, we thank you for this child's survival. We genuinely do. Because Lord, when I heard about Jacoby Watson, when I heard the full account of what that man did, I needed to go into my prayer closet and have a conversation with you about why you allowed that level of wolf into that particular sheep's life. Jacoby came into her pawn shop looking like answered prayer, and he was a counterfeit, Lord. A counterfeit with excellent eye contact and romantic timing. Kissel got her name tangled up in financial matters behind that man. Her name. Her good name. And Jacoby evaporated like he was never even there. I am praying. I am actively, continuously praying. But I will say this, and I say it in love, there were signs. There are always signs. We have got to teach our daughters to read them. Sister Shirley has had her cup refreshed once already and is pointing at nobody and everybody simultaneously. Y'all are being too nice. Y'all are being entirely too nice tonight, and I will not sit here and allow it. Kissel moved in with a man whose whole personality was a video game. Moved in with him. Packed her good dishes, her throw pillows, her candles, the nice ones, the ones that smell like something, and moved them into a house where a grown man had a headset and opinions about game mechanics. She was paying rent. She was paying rent while Rel completed side quests. Side quests. I do not even fully know what a side quest is, and I know it was not worth what Kissel was sacrificing. And then, she got herself an online secret admirer. On the internet. After everything. After Rodney and Stefan and Raywan and the financial crime situation with Jacoby, she opened her heart to somebody on the internet who sent gifts. Baby, those were not gifts. Those were down payments on something dangerous. I cannot, I genuinely cannot, she pauses to collect herself. Pour me a little more of that tea, May, because I am not finished. Mama E waits until the cup is poured, then speaks with the kind of quiet that carries weight. Here is what I want to leave with, because we can shade these men all evening, and we will, and we should, but at the end of it all, Kissel Taylor is still standing. That is not nothing. That is everything. She went through a curriculum that would have destroyed most people. Rodney taught her that charm is not character. Stefan taught her that stability is not integrity. Raywan taught her that words are not love. Jacoby taught her to guard her name like it is sacred, because it is. And Rel. Mama Greer jumps in without apology. Rel taught her that a warm body in the house is not the same as a partner. A very expensive and time-consuming lesson. Mama E nods once. Every single one of those men was a chapter in her education. And Kissel is not done. She is not bitter. She is not hard. She is just, finally, paying attention. And when that right love finds her, and it will find her, she will know exactly what it is. Because she has seen everything it is not. Auntie May fans herself. That was beautiful, E. Now can we go back to talking about Rodney's cologne? Because I have not said everything I need to say about that cologne. Sister Shirley and raises her cup. To Kissel. Still standing. Still hopeful. Still out here, bless her sweetheart. The porch fans turn. The evening holds. EmmaParaLeeInc. Where the streets tell their own truth. When a boy falls in love. Written by Kennedy Brown. Epilogue. What in the CTR plus alt plus del type of hell? Up with this BS, I will no longer put. My neighbor, Jeremy Agnew, has been my neighbor for 6 months, and has been my secret admirer for almost as long, but my ass had my boyfriend/dependent Rel, and Jeremy has custody of his 14-year-old son, Horace, whose mom had moved on, leaving them for her career of choice, being a kept woman by a 68-year-old sugar daddy who she followed to Charlotte, North Carolina. Imagine if she had met Rel before I did, the two lazy asses would starve to death in the dark. But Jeremy sent me a friend request on Facebook and have been secretly getting to know each other. Both of us decided not to associate in public, especially since his son is at my house often playing the PS5 with Rel. But I am gonna have to confront him tonight. Because I have seen one too many of his women of the month coming and going. I mean, I know I have a whole man/child in my bed. But he already knew this. I waited until Rel fell asleep and marched out the back door, marched across the adjoining backyard Jeremy and I shared and knocked on his door. How dare he disrespect me in person after all we share online, nodding at me as if he is trying to get into the same supermarket checkout line, but online it's always send pic. Send video. But I was tired of pretending. I had already given Rel 2 months to move out of the house, but for now our bedroom, all because I want to get to really know Jeremy, and that is not gonna happen with Rel around. I was about to knock again when Jeremy opened the door looking at me with a dumb look on his face. I looked past him, and saw the reason for the dumb look. She was sitting on the sofa chaise flipping channels on the 52-inch flat-screen TV. I am sick of this game you keep playing with my emotions. We had an agreement, and you ignore me for one of your hoes? I vented. She stood her tall lanky ass up wearing a damn Wilma Flintstone type of hairdo looking like she just got fired from a 1960s girls groups. Jeremy, ya better tell ya trick to fall back. I am your damn sister, but I will whip her ass for every slinky link you have, and there are a plethora of 'em. She huffed. Jeremy said I don't have to tell her a damn thing. Kissel, what the hell is wrong with you? I yelled. You are what the hell is wrong with me, your promises. Put Rel out and it will be just you and me. Remember that? Hell no, get your schizophrenic high ass away from me. I never said that shit, never would say it to you especially. Rel is cool with me, I wouldn't do that. Go behind his back to get at his girl. Facebook, we have been hooking up via Messenger. I sent you pics, you promised. I said again. By now I realize I have made this man back up so far that I was standing in his living room beside his sister, whose name was Tashanda, who was busy trying to get Rel to just look into his messenger, but he told her he didn't have Facebook. Liar. Both Tashanda and I yelled at the same time, me because I know who I have been in a relationship with online, her because she has no trouble finding or accessing it because it was a saved password and stayed on green light. Slowly all the nudes I had sent to Jeremy, and the provocative messages popped up. Hold up, this is my son Harace's Facebook. You been catfished by a 14-year-old. He and his sister began laughing hysterically. I was floored. How in the world could I have been so stupid? It couldn't get any more embarrassing, or so I thought, because all the while making a fool of myself, confessing my feelings for Jeremy, I never knew Rel has followed me as I snuck out the door. He had heard and saw everything. Let me take you to where it all began. When a boy falls in love. 23-year-old Kissel Taylor has always been the type of young lady who, against advice of loved ones, is the type of young woman who, although not promiscuous, she will give just about any man a chance. And so far all that has ever gotten her is used and taken for granted. First the guys were from the neighborhood of Northgate Manor, but after Rodney Tate, who like Stephen Smith and Raywan Howard, taught Kissel a very heartbreaking realization, and that is that for every one guy from her clique he had 4 neighborhood girls claiming him, oftentimes with a child as proof the act was consummated. She found this out the hard way, but to her credit, her dummy role is justified, especially since the latest guy had lived in the next city over from Greer, South Carolina. He lived in Spartanburg, in Lori Dillard's extended stay. Kissel had met him when he came into Reese and Danny's Pawn Hub Buy and Loan, which was a popular pawn shop in the middle-class mini mall in Spartanburg, South Carolina neighborhood of S.D. Golson Housing Complex. Jacoby Watson walked into the pawn shop, where Kissel was one of 3 tellers in the front of the cashier's station. He smiled with killer game and stood holding cheap jewelry. After the first encounter, he began coming in pawning things for as much $800, things that were worth $80 yet. He had sweet-talked Kissel into falsifying the accounts since she got promoted to accounting, fixing the books. However, after seeing Jacoby in the bank that day, they had become inseparable. However, one night he had planned a date for them, yet this being the first and last time the pair would meet in person, she went to pick him up for their first date, and being that his car was in the detail shop being decorated, his mind was racing as her asked her if they could first do a food run for his mom and sisters. She agreed. They get to the restaurant and Jacob realizes he left in such a hurry that he had forgotten his wallet, promising to pay her back after they get food, drop it off, and finish their date. The meal wound up costing Kissel $60. She drove him home. He took the food into the apartment and never came back. His ID had another address on it, so she didn't know exactly who lived there and which apartment he went into, yet unbeknownst to her his car was in the parking lot, ready for a speedy getaway to take the food to share with his wife for their 2-year anniversary. He ghosted her and she is still haunted by her stupidity. But for the past 2 months she met Rel Stewart and too soon did they move in together. Rel, like Jacoby, had killer game, except he uses it literally. All the 30-year-old gamer seems to do is play games all day and night while Kissel is head breadwinner in both business and the relationship. As she realizes she has made a mistake by moving in with him, so she secretly begins an online relationship with a guy who first addressed her DM and confessed his love for her, and begins to send gifts to Kissel at work. After being ignored by Rel, privately begins a relationship with her secret admirer, and after meeting a secret lover has made the beautiful Kissel and glowing, and Rel fuming, and Kissel is working it like a 9 to 5. Yet when her secret admirer meets up with her, he is in no way, shape, or form who his Facebook account proclaimed him to be, and could land Kissel in very hot water or even jail.